This episode of Lords of the Storm is brought to you by our sponsors over at Patreon, where you, yes you, can also support the show. Just head over to patreon.com/Lords of the Storm to become a patron today.
Heroes, gather tribute and earn my favor. Say, are you ready to begin?
Hey everyone, my name is Greg Gizmozord Parker, and you are listening to Lords of the Storm, episode 121, the weekly Heroes of the Storm podcast for you, the true Heroes of the Storm. I'm joined tonight, of course, by the Zord Lords themselves, Mr. Kevin Multi-Zord Ellis and Ryan TBK Zord Reader. And on this week's episode, it's Suns Out, Guns Out. A new balance patch hits along with a new hero tease, and we bring you the latest in the HGC. The first joining, I already said joining us. They're already here. Let's just talk to them, see how they're doing tonight. First up, it's Mr. Multi-Zord. All over the place. I even wrote it out this time, and now it's done. How are you doing?
It's not Mr. Multi. It's Multi-Zord. We just say Multi-Zord.
No
Mr. to it.
On this week's episode, we say Mr. Multi-Zord. No, just the one time.
It does have some good alliteration to it.
Yeah.
So I'll grant you that.
That was an Arrested Development joke. So.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry.
Oh, missed it. It's been a while. I didn't see the new Netflix one. I heard it was pretty bad. Anyway, no, I'm doing well. Summer's finally here. We can officially say this a week after the solstice, but it's here. We'll talk about that more later, but I'm excited.
All right. And as well, TBK, how are you doing tonight?
I am doing quite well. It's a lot of fun stuff to talk about tonight. And, of course, teases abound. So get ready. Hold on to your butts.
Teases, yes. It's an interesting tease, and I'll tell my thoughts on that here in a little bit. But what have you guys been up to first off throughout gaming this week? I know we've had the Steam summer sale going on, so I don't know if you guys have dug into that yet. TBK, how about you?
I have not, because I've reached a point in my life where I know that the 50 or so titles I've gotten in previous Steam sales that haven't been played yet, and there's no reason for me to get more to add to that I won't play anyways. Because I've kind of come to the realization that Steam is not really a game playing service. It is a game collecting service. So I'm on to them.
So there was a thread going around on Twitter last week, I think, of I forgot what the website's called, where it tells you, like, oh, if you played all of the games in your Steam library, it would take this long, and you could do this. They posted one that talked about how much you've spent on Steam, what percentage of games you've played, and what your Steam value is. And I have played a higher percentage and spent less than I would have thought. So it's not too bad for me. Multi, how about you? Have you jumped in this summer sale?
No. In fact, I don't really Steam very often. I have some throughout the years for sure, but it's just I'm kind of with TBK. A lot of the games I don't get back to. I don't think I ever really went completely nuts with one of the sales or anything like that. So, although I'm kind of a Blizzard fanboy these days.
Yeah,
I've got to admit it. They've got my attention for sure. But yeah. So it's been good though. I've of course been getting in Heroes, and now that we've got this new little sweepstakes of sorts going on here, I'm definitely going to be crushing it out for looks like every day the rest of the month, at least once, right? So yeah, it's been good though for sure.
All right. So I admittedly here, I took a break from Heroes this weekend, Friday through about yesterday, just because I had an awful Friday night and Saturday like in Hero League. I wasn't playing well. My teammates weren't playing well. My placement matches have just been the worst so far since Hero League has been out. And I was frustrated, and I just started playing bad. I wasn't having fun in Quick Match. So that's whenever I was avoiding the summer sale until that happened. And then I hopped in and I picked up a few cheap games and had a good time in there. But now it's back into Heroes, like you said, especially for the sweepstakes, which we'll get into the details. So it's looking to be a good week in Heroes. So let's go ahead and get into the actual hero stuff. TBK, what do we got going for the weekly collection this week?
So this week we have Raynor and Malfurion both on gem sale. We also have a few pretty good skins. The coloration or the brass special ordnance, which is one of the colorations of Raynor's old master skin. The Shadow Sergeant Doomhammer, which is the Warcraft skin for Sergeant Hammer. The Bone Herald of N'Zoth Alarak. And Neon Cyberrak Anubarak, which I just noticed and bought literally 5 minutes ago.
Yep, and I bought it earlier, like as soon as I saw it too. I was getting on, I think it was yesterday, and I checked in there, and it was like, okay, fine, yeah. I actually got on to get the summer sale bundle, but when I saw that, it was kind of a no-brainer. I had the gems anyway for it, so what the hey, right?
Yeah, why not? It's very Tron-like.
How many gems was it?
It's 400.
Not much, yeah, 400.
Okay, I'll probably have
Totally
to.
doable.
I'll probably have to get it too.
It's a legendary skin, so.
Right, so if you get the duplicate down the road, it helps you out. In the meantime, probably one of the sweetest skins he has, I've got to think. So,
yeah, no question. Also, you can get the saddled horse, which is just a regular horse, but it has a saddle on it.
They like what
I think what you're trying to say is it's kind of weird that horses are their own category, sort of.
Well,
and that there are so many.
That and like
pleb horse.
I almost feel like
okay, saddle on it.
There must be like an RNG generator aspect to these weekly collections because, I mean, what is that? How many gems is that on sale now?
I don't know.
If it's like 2, I might pick it
Yeah,
up.
it's like 10 or less, maybe. I don't know.
I would be interested to see the sales numbers for the saddled pleb horse.
You know, I joke about that, but if it's literally cheap, I have enough gems where I might as well just be like, you know what? I'll collect. I'm a collector. Yeah.
You gotta catch them
so
all.
Actually,
yeah.
Well played, Blizzard. Well played.
Well, and I mean, the saddled horse is an upgrade from the regular pleb horse.
It's true. It has a saddle.
You get a little more control in your ride, and
your hero's butt will not become sore.
Less sore.
Exactly.
Right. Less so.
And with the way some of these heroes are dressing these days, that's really important. Imagine Tychus on that thing with no saddle.
I know.
Tychus doesn't want to ride that thing with a saddle on there. That will not end well for him. I guess you're not ever mounted for long periods of time, and he has enough like sunscreen that it's like it lubes up the saddle, so maybe there's not as much.
There could be something.
It's not as harsh.
You might be sliding around a little bit, but
yeah. In which case, the saddle might actually be worse, so maybe he should just go bareback.
Maybe.
And since we've talked about the saddled horse for 5 minutes, if you want to avoid the butt pain entirely, you can just hop on the magic carpet, which is also on sale.
Bam.
That's right.
All right. So before we talk about the magic carpet for 5 minutes, Multi, what do we got for the hero rotation this week?
Look, I do have something to say about the magic carpet, all right?
Okay.
Because Kharazim hovers over that thing while it's hovering, so 0 butt pain. None at all. He's got it figured out. He's got it figured
very
out.
zen.
He is. He's very zen. Okay, so current free rotation of heroes. We've got Artanis, Azmodan, ETC, Greymane, Kael'thas, Leoric, Lili, Li Ming, The Butcher, Zagara, and then we've got Tychus at level 5, Lieutenant Morales at 10, Anubarak at 15, and Brightwing herself at level 20. Which, by the way, that GIF that came out with the balance patch of Brightwing eating the guy on the ground was inspired. I like that. In this list, though, I've got to just tell you guys, I'm starting to have, and no offense to anyone out there who like mains the Butcher or really enjoys him. I'm sure there are good Butcher players out there, but I have had and I think, I don't know if it was with the Diablo event leading up to this week, but I have had a lot of butchers in my games, and a lot of them just kind of charge in, and so that's still been a problem for sure. So if you haven't tried them out, definitely get on there and try them. Just know that, I mean, you can cancel the charge, and sometimes should. That's all I'm gonna say. If you're charging in 1v5, probably not good.
And if you want to try a better version of the butcher, Malthael is out.
That is also true.
That's true. Yeah, I think because I had a lot of butchers as well this last week. I think it was in part to the Diablo mess that was going on. It's like
yeah, for sure.
It's like the butcher's goals this last week, instead of collecting meat, was just lose meat instead of completing their quest. So I don't know.
Pretty much. Speaking of completing that quest, though, I did end up having to go with AI games, which I kind of regretted. I finished about like 6 or 7 normally, but in the end, the AI was just so much faster. So much faster.
It was.
I don't know, random aside, but just had to throw that out there.
Fair enough. All right, let's go ahead and get on into the news. All right, so first up, the summer event is here. There was never, an official announcement leading up to it, but we kind of had an idea when it was coming, and it was coming this week. So it is out now. We now know how the loot crates are working. We know how we can get the skins. And for those of you that decided to save up and keep your heroes from leveling, well played. That was the right choice to make, because it is specific event crates. Your previous crates, if you save those up, will not contain these items, and you earn these crates by either leveling up, just how you would normally get crates during this event, or you can purchase them, which I have not decided if I'm going to do yet. I'm pretty sure I probably will.
I may have bought 25 of them the other night.
Did you? Yeah.
I'm going to wait until the end of the event to try and get what I want.
That's wise to me. That's definitely something I've seen people do in Overwatch a bunch, because, again, this kind of mirrors Overwatch in some ways, of course. And, yeah, because then by the end of the event, you kind of know just what you got out of your initial drops. And, I mean, if you've got everything you need, you don't feel as much of a need. So, yeah I think that's wise.
Yes. So coming with this event, we of course have the Taika skins, the Tracer skin, Bikini Stitches is back. We got the surfboards, we got new sprays, we got new portraits, and I have not actually gotten a chance to jump in this brawl yet, but I'm super excited for it.
It's not up yet. I think
it's up for Friday. Yeah. That makes sense because Brawls start Friday. So there's a good reason I wasn't in it. It is the Pool Party, which is 5v5 Bikini Stitches. And this is a custom map. It's a pool, which makes sense for the pool party. And your hook's going to be on a shortened cooldown. The objective is just to hook the enemy team across the pool and kill them. And it looks fun. So from the pictures I've seen, the map doesn't look very big, so you're going to have to be real good at avoiding those hooks.
Yep.
But make sure, of course, to play all 3 of those, 2 or 3, however many it's going to require. I imagine this one will be 3, in order to get that free summer event loot crate.
But do you guys know anyone that pronounces pool like the word pull as pool? I've known people like this. They're like, oh, I'm going to pool up to the store. Like, I don't know. I like their play on words is what I'm getting at.
Does the HGC pronounce it as pool party?
I'm not sure. We'll have to check.
Some of our you listeners let us know. I don't know.
If you're still listening.
Yeah. But go ahead.
I was just gonna say, and just as an FYI for everybody, it seems like a lot of our theories on how the summer loot crates were going to work ended up happening.
Yeah.
And so the summer loot crates can contain one of the new items, but they are not guaranteed to contain one of the new items. They just have a chance. And otherwise it's just the regular pool. And it, as far as we can tell, it looks like After this month of event, these will go into the vault for a while, and you most likely won't be able to craft or get them unless you have summer loot crates
Yeah.
left over still.
Or perhaps they'll roll into next year, which we've kind of seen with Bikini Stitches here, being kind of part of the deal and part of the bundle even that's for sale. So,
yeah, I think they just. I mean, I guess it was just an opportunity to roll an already existing summer-like skin,
yeah,
into the deal, and then add some. There's actually some really cool tints they added to that skin. The other big thing is that all of them currently, at least, have the increased shard crafting price. Now we don't know for certain if the crafting price will drop down after 2 weeks or not. I don't think that's been clarified yet. The other, like the cloud mounts, like normal, after the 2 weeks, they're down to 1,600 shards now, the Whimsyshire clouds. So if you want to craft those, they're a lot cheaper now. But we don't have confirmation, as far as I know yet, if the actual event stuff will drop down in crafting price, or if they'll just remain at the heightened price for the entirety of the event.
I seem to doubt it. Or is that what you're going to say, Gizmo?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, just because with these being limited time, it seems like prime opportunity for people are going to want these, so they would spend more gems on them. Because we didn't know if you would be able to purchase these or if it was just going to be from the loot crates. So you can get them, and there is even a bundle that has Stitches, Tychus, Tracer, and then one of the skins for each. But it is the Tychus.
And a surfboard.
Yeah, and the surfboard.
Yeah.
But it's the Tychus. What's the. Not the
just
briefs.
The power drench one?
Yeah, the power drench with the trunks.
So with the trunks on.
Which is.
But yeah, it does not come with the power briefs, which. I mean, obviously, that's your incentive to be opening up more crates, right?
The power briefs are actually legendary.
Yeah, I find
the actual trunks are only epic.
That's interesting. I mean, I can see the appeal of, obviously everyone wants the briefs, but as far as how they were rating their, epic, legendary rares and stuff, it's a little weird. You're actually getting less for the legendary. There's less material there.
Sometimes less is more, Gizmo.
It's true.
Sometimes less is more.
The nice thing is, Redditor Bellius 1217 has come up with some summer event crafting math, and so this is, of course, under the assumption that the prices will drop down shard-wise after 2 weeks, which we don't have any reason to think they won't. There's 19 rares, portraits, and sprays. There's 15 epics, which are skins, and then there's 15 legendaries, which are the rest of the skins and the mounts. It would take 47,850 shards as of right now to craft everything. That number, if they do drop after 2 weeks, will go down to 31,900 shards, which is still a lot of shards. But the bundle is worth it if you have the gems or want to spend real money over trying to open the chests. If you buy the bundle, if you have the gems, open summer loot chests as you go. Don't craft anything for 2 weeks. Likely the cost in shards will drop down to normal values instead of the 1.5x value right now. And in the meantime, your goal is to save up 32,000 shards minus whatever you open up in chests in the next 2 weeks. So that's just kind of the. If you go ahead and the bundle's a decent value because you can get the surfboard and then you can get 3 of the new, so 1 tint of each of the new skins, which is nice, and that kind of guarantees you that if you open them up in a chest, you'll get the shard value, which is also nice. And that's kind of the nice thing about the way they've done loot box is because of the shard values. Even if you open up a duplicate, you still win, because honestly, shards are probably the best currency in Heroes. It's not gold, it's not gems, it's shards. Because shards can get you literally anything. Gems cannot get you everything. Gold can only get you rerolls. The shards are the most valuable currency in Heroes. So that's kind of the math around around the summer event stuff.
Well, gold can do new heroes too, right? So that helps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah. No, so okay, now kind of tying this into our discussion from yesterday, or not yesterday, last week, I should say. Maybe it was yesterday for some people. I don't know if you tuned in yesterday. Listen to them back to back. There you go. So a lot of the news going around just Blizzard in general lately is actually of Overwatch and Hearthstone kind of changing their loot systems a little bit. And so if you haven't heard out there, so Overwatch is actually changing it to where they drastically reduce the number of duplicates you can get in their loot chests.
Mm-hmm.
And so then like you think to yourself, okay, well, if that's the case, that's nice. It helps me fill out my collection a little bit. But I mean, I was relying on those duplicates to in order to get enough currency in that game to craft things there. Well, what they've done is they've fixed that by when you get the drop for currency within those chests, they've upped the amount that's in that too, so to kind of like balance it out there. So that was the Overwatch team's approach. Hearthstone's gone a different direction here with, so starting with the next expansion, if you unwrap a legendary from one of your packs, you will not get that same legendary again until you actually fill in all the legendaries for that expansion set.
Mm-hmm.
And they also pushed it back to where within your first 10 packs of the next set, you're going to get a guaranteed legendary within that. So that's pretty cool. So like the reason I bring all this up here is because it kind of ties into, like I said, our discussion last week, but then also this, in that like we can see possibly some of these same sorts of changes coming up in Heroes down the road. I'm not sure like when, and I'm certainly not like asking for it, because in Heroes we have that reroll system, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which has always helped us out. In my mind, like up until this point, I've thought it was the better system, just frankly because of that. But like I don't know. I wanted to bring this up because I'm thinking that maybe somewhere down the road, maybe a year out the road, something like that, there are things like this that Heroes could pull off. Like they don't even have to drastically reduce duplicates we get in chests, but they could do it a little bit. I mean, they could tweak the numbers however they want. And, so I just wanted to bring this up as a general topic of Blizzard as a whole is thinking about these kinds of things. And I think because Heroes 2.0 is so new, it's too early to kind of make those sort of tweaks in our system, but just that we might see it one day. So
yeah,
I was intrigued to hear what you guys thought.
I think it's more, I'm not sure Heroes will ever react to this just because the chances of duplicates in Heroes are much less likely just because there's so much more to get, as well as the currencies we get for those duplicates is actually seems fair, to whereas in Overwatch, it always seemed like garbage.
Overwatch is the big offender, I think, as far as crafting currency goes.
So I think this is more of Blizzard has seen how this loot system has been working with the amount of crafting materials people are getting from duplicates and stuff, and so they're adjusting the way theirs works. And I think that's a really smart move for both of them. The Hearthstone idea, I think, is incredible.
Oh yeah, Hearthstone had some major issues. They had people that would like post video compilations of just unwrapping Sagoth the Slitherer like 8 times, and that would be the only legendary they got the entire expansion. So yeah, no, definite right call on that one. And I mean, these are business decisions.
Mm-hmm.
Like they are going out of their way to make sure that you're having a more fun experience when you're unwrapping the packs. And I mean, there's some people out there arguing that it's actually going to help their bottom line, because if you have a feel good experience with unwrapping things, it might encourage you to unwrap some more things. So just a thought there. And I mean, like, okay, it's not a complaint about Heroes. I think that the re-rolling really does add to the feel good, but like I feel like they could do minor things to change this up. We got an email regarding this as well, listener question. For instance, like Captain Logan wrote in and said, why can't we spend gold on upgrading the loot box's rarity? Or a question I would have is maybe somewhere down the road, like if you unwrap a legendary in one of our chests and then re-roll that one, could we still keep the legendary rarity just in there? So like if I unwrap Genji, who I already have, but then re-roll and get the sad cloud, then I'd be I guess it'd be sad, but I'd be excited.
Sad, but happy.
So like there's so much they can do is kind of what I wanted to tie in with last week, and it's just exciting to see that Blizzard as a company is willing to go in these directions.
Yeah, and I think Heroes kind of started with this, right? Like the reroll system is extremely nice from just a loot chest type thing, because for a minimal amount of currency, gold, which you get in every single game you play, you can switch out all 4 items for something else. I mean, that's pretty good. They do have bad luck protection. You are guaranteed a legendary already after like 15 or 20 opening, like once every 15 or 20 openings or something like that. I don't remember the number off the top of my head, but there is bad luck legendary protection that's already in Heroes. Although I actually do like the idea of being able to pay gold to upgrade the
rarity.
Rarity. I think that's a decent idea, and would give another outlet for gold. Not that there needs to necessarily be another outlet for gold, because loot chests have done a really good job with decreasing gold across the board, I'm sure, but I wouldn't be opposed to it.
Yeah, it's I thought my gold was gonna last longer, and I still have like 74,000, but I went through that initial 35,000 pretty darn fast, and I imagine that's gonna go down quite a bit more throughout this event. So yeah, that's one of the good things about this system, is just there are so many ways they can tweak it. Right. Should they find the need to, especially year or 2 years down the line when there are just so many items in this game, which is cool. So back to Suns Out Guns Out here real quick.
Oh yeah.
There's more?
There's more, and it's even better than we thought it was going to be. So
what?
Yes, there are
crazy.
It really is, actually.
Which, by the way, Blizzard in their free-to-play game Heroes of the Storm has given out more stuff and continues to do so than any other game I have ever seen, and it's absolutely incredible. So this is the summer sweepstakes. It's going through now up until July 24th. What they're doing, they're giving away 1 million loot chests each week, plus mind-boggling rare, epic, legendary, and grand prizes, including
100,000 loot chests.
This thing,
100,000 winners.
Of
loot chests.
This thing says
not 1 million.
This literally says we're giving away 1 million loot chests each week.
Well, that's
really
over 1 million common through legendary prizes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. I was confused there. I was just like, wait a second.
Period. We can give the breakdown later.
Zeros.
Yeah. No. This is just the in-game loot chests. But for the rest of this stuff, they are going to have, like I said, the rarity loot chests that they're going to be giving away each week. And so they have their common prizes are going to be 5 loot chests. That's 100,000 winners. Rare prizes are going to be 50 loot chests. That's 10,000. Epic prizes are going to be Blizzard games, the digital deluxe versions, plus $250 in Battle.net balance. That's going to be 50 people. 30 people are going to win 30 legendary skins. And 10 people are going to win the Illidan statues that were, I believe, released or came out along with Legion. And these things they're amazing, freaking incredible. Like I really want one. I think they're like around $300 or $350, something like that. And then there's also a legendary prize. There will be one of these per week, I believe, and that is a full PC rig and Corsair peripherals, mouse, keyboard, and headset. That's valued at $2,400 each week. And we're not done.
Those things that you said, they're doing weekly.
Yeah.
They're doing
that was all
weekly.
Per week. And it was 50 winners for the 30 legendary skins.
Yeah, well. I think I said 30.
So it's okay. Okay.
But we're not done. There's a grand prize, and that is an all-expenses paid trip to BlizzCon for 2 people. 2 winners. So 4 people.
2 trips for 2. Yeah.
And how do you enter these sweepstakes, you ask? Like, what do I have to do? Do I have to, make a video? Do I have to submit artwork? No, all you have to do is win a single game in Heroes every day. Your first win every day will enter you into this drawing, and that's in any game mode except for the Brawl. And so that's including AI matches.
Right.
So you can
And
get
this is, to be clear, this is 1 entry per day.
yes,
so
so you
like,
get 7
Yep.
per week.
get 7 per week. So I mean, obviously, like, I'm kind of in the boat where if I miss one in this time, I'm gonna feel genuinely bad. Honestly, like I'm cutting down my chances, even so slightly. But I mean, it's not like the one we just had previously, where we were just unlocking just loot chests for the 2-year anniversary, which was really cool. But I missed a couple days, and I was kind of like, oh well, that's too bad. I missed out on a couple loot chests. But here, like, I genuinely feel like I'm hurting my chances if I miss even one day. So
Yeah.
This is a
Super high
lot
for
of
this one.
winners. Like, you
Yeah, that's right.
actually genuinely have a decent chance to get the common or the rare prize.
Yeah.
and at least
You have a
something.
very decent chance to get this.
And those are the event chests as well. So
Exactly.
it's make sure again, those AI games, beginners take like 3 minutes. Hop in, make sure you don't actually, you know what? Don't do the daily entries. Play like once or twice a week. That's fine. You don't need 7 entries.
Yeah.
Just leave that.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, you don't have to play a whole lot.
There you go.
Right. My one beef with all this, though, is that, and I only did it yesterday so far. I intend to still crush it out tonight at some point, but I didn't really notice any like in-game quest or anything in the client to like let me know.
Yeah,
that
there's
I
no
completed per day.
notification.
No notification. So I mean, I'll take them at their word that I got entered in for yesterday, but it's just kind of awkward in that sense. So
I agree because yesterday I was playing Necromancer on D3 because it launched, but I wanted to squeeze this out. And while it said every game mode besides Brawl, I was like, I wonder if that really means AI. So I played the AI match and nothing happened. I was like,
Yeah, did I really get it?
yeah.
I have to assume, because I did AI as well. So
Yeah, and they didn't say. So, but yeah, a nice like a notification or something in there would be helpful. I mean, it's one
also-
win per day, so you should know
Yeah.
when you get that. But
I would think so, especially because it's a win and not like just one game. And I mean, having it actually in the client would draw in people that, haven't heard about this from the outside or like read about it online or anything. So actually, never mind. That's a terrible
Yeah, I
idea.
was gonna say.
Let's
Yeah,
let's not include that.
leave it how it is.
perfect.
Why did we even talk about it on this show?
Because
No,
we
just-
have to do our duty.
We got to do
Ah,
our
yes,
duty,
I know,
our civic
I know.
duty. And
Yes.
guys, just do it. You have a really
agreed.
good chance of winning. This is not one of those, I got a lottery ticket and I'm 1 in 500 million chance of doing it. This is a legitimate, at the very least, you have a decent chance to pull down 5 free loot chests.
Yeah,
So why not?
absolutely.
Worst case scenario, you just play a couple games of Heroes, and it's
yeah,
fun.
dang it! Why do I
No?
want to do that? That sounds awful.
Yeah.
I hate getting in that game. But also coming this week, we were kind of expecting it this week or next week. We have the newest hero teaser tweeted out by their official Twitter. It says initiate containment protocol 5P0T immediately. The Nexus has been contaminated, with a nice little picture of a very StarCrafty looking spaceship console or of some sorts with some purple goo, some Zerg blood or slime.
Purple pulsing goo.
Yes, it is pulsing. And I'm not even, I don't know StarCraft lore that great. I'm not a huge lore person, period. But from earlier discussions and stuff of everything, even in my mind, who pops up? Stukov.
Stukov.
So that's
he's definitely the high end of the guessing spectrum this time around. And
Yeah.
here's my hope.
support.
I do say this about everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true.
So I mean, it's not super fair, but I hope he shows support because a Zerg support would be actually really cool.
It would be.
How they implement that, and for the love of all that is good, I need another support
Yeah, that
ASAP.
and that's kind of another reason I was leaning towards it being Stukov, because I remember when people were talking about who was it that came out when we thought it was going to be Stukov initially? Was it
Probius.
Probius?
Yes.
Yeah, probably.
Okay, yeah, so Probius. And people were talking about how Stukov is and how he could actually work as some weird kind of support. So it would be, I don't know, it'll be interesting. And I hope that if he is a support, he is an actual support, not some weird pseudo support. But, fingers crossed.
I like the idea. I know we talked about this outside the show initially, but I'm pessimistic about that. I don't know why. I mean, I don't know a ton about Stukov necessarily. He doesn't really look the support part to me. Yes, they could do some weird Zergy things, but like even this tweet is talking about the Nexus being contaminated. So that puts me in a place where maybe he is contaminating the Nexus with like poisons of some kind, maybe a damage over time effect. And so I'm starting to feel more of a like melee specialist of some kind, personally.
Join the Zerg.
Yeah.
Be healed.
If I remember correctly, when people were talking about how his healing could work, it was something to the sort of him like being able to put something on a teammate, and then he does damage over time to enemies, and it kind of drains from them and goes to whoever he has buffed or whatnot.
Oh, that could be interesting.
Which
it's sucking the life out of the enemy and healing someone. That's actually an interesting new way to do healing.
Yeah,
so if that's true.
I think that's just what came to my head, and I don't know the StarCraft lore either, but that's what scares me about him possibly being a pseudo support, because you'd have to be really careful about how much he heals if he's also doing damage. But
Right.
we'll see. And the other thing is, because of Blizzard and what they did with Probius and Genji, everyone thinking it was Deathwing, it's almost like, wait, this is too obvious to be Stukov.
Yeah, kind of.
They knew we wanted Stukov. They knew we were talking about it. We thought we were going to get him before, and it was Stukov when they tricked us the first time. So now they're being jerks again and trying to lead us.
Yeah, there's
the wrong way.
definitely the possibility of the old
Switcheroo.
Switch.
Yeah.
So it's really actually going to be Deathwing.
Yeah, that's
No, it's a Zerg infested Kel'Thuzad.
Yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be an interesting crossover. At least a skin. Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, here's Kel'Thuzad, and he got infected by the Zerg on
Yeah.
the way over from World of Warcraft,
well,
because that's higher in the launcher as a button, so he had to go through StarCraft.
not on mine. It's not.
to get down to
I mean, you
Heroes.
can customize.
Yeah,
it,
my
but
Heroes is
I
on
know
top
what
for mine. TBK, where do your loyalties lie there?
Yeah.
Mine is down in the easiest to reach spot.
Just a low-hanging fruit.
Does your mouse hang on the wall? Do you play on the wall, so it's just like gravity pulls your mouse down all the time and it's there?
Yep.
It's very.
You know how
interesting.
much effort it is to push up your mouse instead of just kind of like pull it down a little bit?
Actually, yes. I'm with you on this one.
We are nerds. As little
It's
effort as
not really a
possible.
surprise.
All right, here. Well, it'll also be interesting to see if there's any other teasers, or if it's just going to be this and then bam, they're going to announce it. But also coming along this week, it's been a few weeks, I feel like, since we've had
a
one.
while.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just
I
a
think it's been a while.
a flat balance patch. And this balance patch, as I was meandering through it, there are some nerfs to heroes we were kind of expecting nerfs to go to, but it's not anything crazy like, oh, this
Right.
hero just got wrecked. I feel like this is very, and again, we've had a few weeks, so these maybe some very well thought out changes. We'll see how they work. Some of them again were necessary. So we'll start out here, and the top is Genji. Dude has been super picked or banned in competitive
Oh, yeah.
and high-end hero league. Not really a ton in my level, but I'm still
I've seen him
sad
a bunch.
because, oh, by the way, 3 of my mains that I was practicing for this season are in these nerfs. So shows you how I pick my heroes. So Genji here, and they are nerfing kind of his shotgun build. It looks like a little bit. Shuriken Mastery at level 4, the bonus damage is being reduced from 30 to 25. And then Dragon Claw, which is actually the talent we went over in our build when we did Genji. The damage required is being reduced from 375 to 300, and the damage dealt increased from 180 to 190. So up until
Which is kind of cool.
Yeah, up until last week, I was still going our build, the dash build, and not the shuriken. So this may actually end up being okay for me.
I like the reset build better, anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's especially like I said, in my leagues, it's much easier. There's not as much team coordination for me to get in there and go crazy. So I just kind of let them do their thing, sit back and poke, and go in for the finish. And then level 7.
I did like the old Dragon Claw. I'm interested to try the new one though, because that's a pretty good buff.
And level 7, the dodge cooldown increased from 8 to 12 seconds. Second up on this patch, who do you guys think it is? Is it the top win rate hero by like 3%? Yes, it is. It's Malthael.
He's getting dangerously close to 60% right now.
Which they do not want to see happen, for sure.
Did a Nubarak get over 60% at one time?
I'm sure he did.
I feel like he did.
I think Samuro and a couple others did for sure. At the height of like Li Ming and a few others, I think they did. Kael'thas had to stay in the sun, which, by the way, tons of Kael'thas in HGC this week, but whatever. And they have a developer comment for Malthael. We can go over the numbers in a second here, but I just want to touch on, Death has arrived, and he's definitely doing his job somewhat too well. His win rate climbed a lot faster and higher than anticipated, so the majority of these changes are nerfs. And that's true. I just kind of wanted to echo, of course, go back a couple weeks at how frustrated I was by Malthael in the first place, but it took me by surprise, too, that he climbed up so high and does so well.
Yeah.
So I could see why Blizzard is surprised here, is all I'm saying.
It turns out percentage-based damage is good.
Yeah.
Who knew? Who knew?
Yeah.
I'm a little and like you said, this whole balance patch is fairly tame for the most part.
A lot of numbers stuff, yeah.
Yeah, we got the Tormented Soul cooldown increase from 80 to 100, which that's not surprising. Yeah.
Sure.
No changes to Last Rites, which I thought was a little surprising. I thought it could use some love, specifically in the range department. It is super short range. They are improving his E build though, which is very interesting, because now the cooldown reduction was increased from 2 to 4 seconds, and it also reduces the mana cost of Death Shroud on quest completion from 50 to 25. Not that he had mana issues, really, anyways,
right?
But sure, that's nice. They nerfed Ethereal Existence, which was his kind of main level 13. The armor was reduced from 15 to 10 per hero hit, but the max armor bonus was increased from 45 to 50. So you can technically get more armor than you could before if you get your mark on everybody.
Yeah, that's almost a buff, kind of, because I feel like in the situations I picked Malthael,
with Tormented Souls,
it was going to be easy to hop in there and get it. So.
Right, but you have to have enough targets around you. And I mean, if you're against like the Vikings, obvious buff. But yeah, no, I love this. Just I want to say really quickly, because it's one of those nerf / buffs. I don't know what would we call that.
It's like I mean, it's still a slight nerf, but it's like a side.
But it's
side
cool.
grade.
I think it's like an elegant solution. So the more of these I see, the happier I am.
Yeah.
Even when it's just a small number of things.
Inevitable End, the active at level 13, got its cooldown reduced from 30 to 20 seconds because it was never picked. Memento Mori. This was the big one. This is if your Reaper's Mark lasts for more than 4 seconds on a single target, its damage bonus was increased to 100%. Now it's only 80%. Still going to hurt, but it's definitely not going to just chunk you away like it did before. And then Reaper of Souls, his level 20, added functionality, now passively increases the duration of Tormented Souls by 1 second. And so that's just the upgrade, of course, Tormented Souls. I think the biggest thing I'm looking at is the Throwing Shade at level 4. Because once that quest is complete, especially if you get... and I can't remember the name of the talent. It's basically the talent at level 20 that gives you the 4 second shade on the ground. You'll basically be able to have that up constantly. Because it lasts for 4 seconds, if I recall right, and your cooldown on your throwing or your E, your shade will be 4 seconds.
4 seconds, yeah, and you get the extra range on it too, right?
Yeah,
the quest.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's not bad.
So that's kind of interesting.
It-
I just was kind of thinking about that earlier. It's like, oh, I could just have little ghost paths everywhere.
Talk about harassing someone off a point. Like you're fighting over that final turn in Cursed Hollow, for instance.
Oh yeah,
Just block it
that
off.
gives him, I think, a viable harassment build, potentially at least.
It's late game to be harassing like that, but there might be fringe scenarios.
Yeah. And I, again, I'm 100% okay with these changes. And we did kind of call it last week that the build we were talking about may get nerfed. I still think it's going to be absolutely viable, but I do think this is going to kind of turn it
Yeah, for
into
sure.
two viable builds. Because before the Momentum Mori build, I was kind of doing the, little bit more range throwing shade build, E-build. And I think even with that build, I was dueling really well when it came to melee people like Thrall. So it's I think it's kind of cool because it's going to, you can play Malthael, and then depending on what you're going against, which of course is what you do for every time you're picking a build, but go, the all-in double tank or heavy melee, or kind of the poke and potential solo laning against a melee, kind of stay back, wear him down, and kill him with the range, which is nice. So I'm excited to check those out for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Thrall. Some interesting stuff here. So Frostwolf Resilience, the healing amount has been increased from 210 to 223. Rolling Thunder,
That
level
was
1.
needed.
Yeah. Well, and it's
It was recently nerfed,
They
wasn't it?
nerfed it. They nerfed it
Yeah.
hard.
and it's
They nerfed
especially
it hard.
needed
Rework.
after a bug fix, which we'll talk here in a second. But level 1, Rolling Thunder, mana return increased from 10 to 12. Feral Resilience at 4. New functionality. Heroes hit by Feral Spirit grant Thrall 3 charges of Frostwolf Resilience. And I haven't played Thrall since his changes yet, but his Feral Spirit goes through heroes now, right?
Right?
Yes.
So
It
that-
is every hero hit extends the range again in the same line.
So just
Yeah.
say, for instance, in a cluster, you hit 4 people. That's an instant 440
It's a lot of healing.
healing at base. So that is quite a bit there. 13 Spirit Shield cooldown reduction per Frostwolf Resilience increased from 5 to 8 seconds for each stack. And then Wind Rush at 20 cooldown increased from 70 to 80. Makes sense because Blink. That's why. But yeah, one of the big bug fixes here for Thrall, the bonus damage or the bonus heal amounted granted by Frostwolf's Grace apparently was applying to all Frostwolf Resilience procs. So
It was healing a lot more than it should have been, technically.
yeah. So it's if he feels like he was overly nerfed, it's because it was just a bug. But hopefully this healing helps out with that a little bit there. Zeratul just got a little tweak here. Level 16 sentenced to death. Bonus damage decreased from 50 to 40%. I don't play Zeratul anymore. And Zul'jin, Guillotine, an interesting kind of change here. And I think this is going to help out quick match Zul'jins and potentially lower level. The base damage has been increased from 210 to 350, while the damage multiplier at extremely low health decreased from 500 to 300%. I don't know if this means you have to be where you would have had the 500% increased damage and it's now just 300%, or if once you get to the 300% increased damage, it just doesn't scale more than that. That's kind of how I hope it is.
That's what it sounds like.
That's-
It's more 300% now at the low end.
Is the cap.
It has to
cap
be.
now.
Look at the base damage.
Yeah,
Like
right.
210 to 350. Like it has to. You can't put a 500% multiplier on that.
No, yeah.
So your new cap is 300ish percent.
Yeah, so I'm hoping that it's, it helps those Zul'jins that are always trying to stay low but probably don't have the necessary mechanical skills to be doing that safely. Be able to get some damage out of that. And then his ensnare at 20, range increased from 7.8 to 10, cooldown reduced by 15 seconds from 60 to 45, and duration increased. So your favorite hero,
I think
TPK.
the real question is, do you want Axe? because I still don't want Axe.
No.
It's
I
you don't,
really don't.
You're not going to check him
Not
out
a
after
fan.
these changes.
No.
You don't want to?
I still don't see a reason to pick Guillotine like 95% of the time over
I don't
Tazdigo anyways.
I don't either. And Ensnare is kind of underwhelming too, in my mind.
Yeah. I mean, it's been so long since I played him. I honestly don't even remember what his 20 talents were.
The problem is you're almost always going to want to pick your Tazdigo upgrade at level 20 because that gives you health back for all the damage done to you during Tazdigo, which is a huge deal because, again, 90% of the people who you're playing quick match with will continue to attack you during Tazdigo, which normally is fine because that means you die instantly as soon as your Tazdigo's over if they don't die first. But that really puts a wrench into things once you hit level 20 and bam, you have full health again.
Yeah.
After your Tazdigo is over. So
Right.
Fair enough. TBK.
I just don't want Axe still.
Still don't want it.
Bo can have Axe.
Bo and Kyle. Is Kyle still playing?
He does.
Yeah.
He plays a pretty mean Zul'jin.
Cool.
All right, TBK. What do we got for specialists?
Medivh. Okay, Raven familiar. Ravens created by this talent will now only attack heroic targets. Oh, that's nice. I guess that's a slight buff if they were attacking minions or whatever before. Provius, and this is actually a fairly decent nerf.
Yeah.
Pylon Overcharge, your R ultimate, no longer gives Pylons bonus health.
Good.
So whenever you hear that thing go off and you see the beam start shooting, Pylon's much more vulnerable now. Just to kill them.
Less scary. Just turn and kill. All right.
Yep.
Multi Brightwing. What are we seeing there?
So a couple supports with little changes here, but Brightwings are super interesting. I may actually try her out for our game if we play one after this. So Pixie Dust, the movement speed duration has been reduced from 4 to 3 seconds, which, okay, whatever, nerf. It no longer grants block charges, but the new functionality on this is that it instead grants 30 spell armor for 3 seconds. So as you're moving quicker, you're getting better spell armor. And so she's kind of being tweaked in a way that she would help as like an anti-mage, of course. But then at level 13, they've also changed Shield Dust, added functionality to where Pixie Dust also grants 50 physical armor for the duration. So we're talking at 13 on, you can give 50 physical, 30 spell. And like, I don't know, I need to get in and feel it out, but that seems super strong. And I mean, pair all that with just her healing throughput that she can do between the ult as well as her just general passive. And of course the mobility, the global. Certainly worth looking into there for sure.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is pretty big.
It is.
Like,
it really is.
I feel like spell armor is probably in most cases more valuable than physical armor is, just because
Depending,
all
but yeah.
abilities are spells, and so that's what helps negate burst. Because very little auto attack damage, except for a select few characters, is very bursty.
Mm-hmm.
Most
Weren't we
auto
just
attack,
talking about Zul'jin?
yeah, and Zul'jin is only bursty if you're super low health.
Yeah.
Right.
Because it's still pretty dang slow when he's like, high health, mid range health. So I really like this change. And the interesting thing is level 13, you're gonna have this is a trade-off, right? Because level 13 is ice block. And ice block's a
true.
big deal. And
It
so
is.
you're gonna have to kind of judge based on the game, how the game's going. But that's a significant buff, throwing 3 seconds of 30 spell armor and 50 physical armor on another hero. That's pretty big.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Sure is. So Lucio's next. So the change here is just with the healing boost of your W. The amp it up healing, when you actually activate it, is increased as a base from 14.5 to 15.5. And then there's a tweak to his level 16 talent, up the frequency, which helps out with the cooldown a little bit. So, okay, the developer comment on this one is they're saying the idea here is to give back his intentional healing since we took out so much of his passive healing. And this may also hopefully help reverse amp and bring it together pick rates on their tiers as well. So My take on this, I mean, I'm definitely excited because I love playing Lucio in this game. And after the nerf, I kind of felt like I was not doing enough in some cases.
He
I mean,
just straight disappeared.
Oh yeah,
from pro
for,
play
for similar
after that
reasons.
nerf.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, I do like their attention to the intentional healing because that's part of the problem, right? Like you want to be able to hit that button and at least kind of hope that your targets you're healing are supposed to live through it. But I don't know. I feel like maybe the passive healing needs a little bit of a buff as well too. And I don't know if Blizzard quite knows exactly how to do this. I'm sure they knew better than I, but like, you know, they've brought it down from a base of 3 per little tick to 2. And as we've, I think, talked about previously, they could tune this however much they want. They could change ever so slightly the rate at which those 2s come out and really like completely tweak his passive healing as well. I don't know if they've explored this option yet or if it's like really hard to program. So anyway, this is all just to say that I'm still kind of concerned about the passive healing, but I'm excited to see any change to the active.
Yeah, this is just taking the healing they took away and putting it into the activatable ability. But I agree with you. I think my, without testing or anything, personal favorite way to fix this issue would be to just change the rate at which those the healing goes out and give him back the actual numbers and passive healing.
Yep.
So you can get more tiny numbers popping up on your screen,
or less
at the same time.
Less slightly bigger tiny numbers popping up.
Yeah, go back to 3, but then tick slower. Yeah, there's.
Yeah.
They could tune him however they want, which is fitting because he's a DJ. So.
Let it remix it.
That's right.
There you go.
Remix
this is a little bit of a remix. Yeah, for sure. For sure.
All right, Tassadar here. Guess what? That lifesteal, it's crazy. It's been reduced. It's been reduced from 45 to 40 on Plasma Shield, which is, you know, a good nerf, but not overly crazy. And then level 1, Kaidaran Resonance, the first unlock shield value has been increased from 15 to 20%, and the second has been increased from 30 to 40. So kind of making up for that early game shield power. And Templar's Will, the damage bonus off the first quest unlock reduced from 150 to 125. So a little nerf there. And then level 4, Kala's Embrace, lifesteal amount also reduced from 90 to 75.
Yep.
I don't know in what world 90% ever got through. That was...
Like at that point, I feel like you just need to make it 100%. Like, just do it.
Yeah, that was ridiculous. This is really interesting because they basically nerfed Mage AA Tassadar because he was getting a little stupid once you finished both phases of that quest. And Kaidaran Resonance, I don't think there's been a talent in this game that has changed more times now than that talent. Like it has been tweaked so much, it has been changed completely multiple times. Like, and I think this just comes down to Blizzard. I just don't think knows how to balance shields.
I think they've been struggling with Tassadar for almost the length of the game.
Question.
Like,
no question.
He's got to be a frustration for them.
Yeah, it's which brings us back to, hey, Blizzard, just make Tassadar Mage.
I would be okay with that. Or we need to start introducing more heroes that have some sort of shield type counters. Because it's a lot of these problems, a lot of problems that some characters introduce can go away as new heroes come in. But of course that doesn't fix things now. But that's one thing that, and I've mentioned this before, that the game really is lacking right now. Literally, the only way to counter shields right now is damage or Varian's level 13 shield breaker.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Like, that's it. That's the only way to counter shields right now. And so I'm hoping we get some more that have situational shield type talents or shield drain or shield breaker type things like Varian has and stuff like that, because then Blizzard can feel free to introduce more shield type effects. But right now it really sucks, and there's not a whole lot of characters with those shield type effects because they are so hard to counter.
Yeah.
Do you think they could fix it? This is just a random thought, but do you think they could fix it by, instead of really having like the shield functionality and the absorption there, like tying it to armor somehow? Like Zarya's shields gives a certain amount of armor instead. In the end, you're doing a similar thing. The numbers are all different, of course, but
Yeah.
you're reducing damage in a certain way. They may have to kind of tweak the armor system, but
I wouldn't
Fake
think
thought.
they would
Well,
have to tweak it.
It's different.
Yeah.
Because
It is
you're
different.
talking
It is
about pure health versus not losing health. So this is like shields are the absorption, and while armor absorbs damage, it doesn't actually keep you from losing health. Shields actually keep you from losing that health. And
right.
so
Which is why
that's where the
self healing
difference
into
lies.
it is so good.
Well,
Exactly.
They
Particular.
could. Yeah,
Good.
they could do if they for some reason decide that they're wanting to buff the shields again, but don't want to. We've had problems with them being overly powerful. Still have keep the shield amount the same, but then add that armor in. So I don't know. That's that's pretty much just
there's a
buffing
talent
the
you
shield.
can take that gives armor after the shield
Yeah.
expires. If that I
'Cause-
remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, if the armor is there with the shield, that's just like increasing the shield. So
Right.
I don't know if it's like
Just
a
get that
small
much more damage
small
reduction.
number tweaks that it would affect that. I don't know. It's a
I just
weird.
think there needs
Shields
to be
are
more
weird.
shield counters.
Yeah.
I think that's
Yeah.
that's really what it boils down to, is that it's hard to balance right now because there's not a lot of counters to it, and so that's why we're seeing just constant tweaks on Tassadar mainly, because that's his big shield. And
Yeah.
That's the big source of it.
All right, we got one more support here, and this was another needed one. It's Uther. Level 1, Hammer of the Lightbringer, cooldown reduction per basic attack increased from 1 to 1.5 seconds. That's nice. Pursuit of Justice, level 4, movement speed increased from 20 to 25%. That's nice. Level 7, Guardian of Ancient Kings.
Ooh boy.
Armor reduced from 75 to
About
50.
time.
And I honestly think that's okay. 50 armor is
Yeah.
still going to be enough there because 75 just made stuns irrelevant almost.
Yeah. It's still enough
hmm
that if you are in the situation for it, because he has a cleanse
Yeah.
at that tier
Right.
as well. It's still enough that in the situation for it, it still will be a better pick over the cleanse.
hmm
You're just going to have to kind of judge that based on the enemy team, and that's probably how it should be.
Yeah.
Agreed. Now, will they still take Guardian of the Ancient Kings in the pro scene, or will
Hopefully
Cleanse win the day?
Situationally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the hope, right?
It is.
And then 16 Benediction cooldown increase from 40 to 60 seconds.
No,
That's a big nerf.
that is huge.
That's a huge
I
nerf.
loved Benediction.
Nice.
Still probably would, but that's huge.
33% increase on that. It's weird because Malthael 20-second increase, 80 to 100. Oh, that's fine. But 40 to 60, that you feel that.
Yeah.
You feel that.
I think it's more because people feel that tier in general is very lacking.
Because
and-
Benediction is so good.
Because Benediction was so good, and just because the other two are a little I guess. Is Beacon better now? I don't know, probably not. Benediction will probably still be worth taking because it lets you do a double of any of your stuff. I mean, that's
Right.
situationally doing a double of any of your stuff is a huge deal, especially now that your heals add armor or potentially even a double stun. So I don't know. I would like to see some of his level 16s, his other level 16s kind of given a little bit of love too.
Thing, like bring the other ones up, don't knock this one down. And I don't remember everything on that tier off the top of my head, but I seem to think there's some other okay stuff if we had just, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Do love me some Benediction though.
And then we got 2 warrior nerfs here. Diva, nerf in her mech, basic attack damage reduced 22.5 21, health reduced from 2060 to 2000, health regeneration reduced from 4.86 to 4.17. A pretty decent overall nerf to that mech. And level 1, hit the nitrous, damage bonus reduced from 100 to 50.
No, not the talent
Yeah.
that everyone
I
picks.
know.
Yes.
So,
Might have to start looking at some of the other level 1 talents now.
man, what are they?
Is
It's,
I don't
you
know.
know it's
Okay,
bad
well,
when you
there's
don't
one
even know
where-
what the other level 1
no.
talents are.
There's one where if you don't collide with anything or do any damage for the duration of your boost,
Cooldowns.
you get half off of the
Yeah.
cooldown, which is actually
that's
kind of good for big
that can be
maps,
kind of
so.
nice.
Yeah,
I
like that a lot.
like this health reduction.
Mm-hmm.
Whoever did this, go tell the guy who nerfed ETC to nerfed ETC's health to go back and do it like this instead.
Yeah.
Fair point. Now, question is though, is Diva's mecha suit the new Anubarak? Like, are we going to see these weekly, where there's tiny health changes?
Oh gosh. I mean,
I doubt it.
yeah.
I doubt it too, but anytime I see a tiny health change, I'm always like, oh, it's like Anubarak.
I mean, this is
So.
this is what I want to see, right? I want to see tiny changes.
Sure,
It's the big sweeping changes, and sometimes you have to do that if a hero is like stupidly broken. But even with
Sometimes doing
Mouth
that's
Ale,
fun, but yeah.
even with Mouth Ale, they were somewhat conservative,
Mhm.
and they targeted very specific talents. They didn't really target his base kit.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people thought that his trait percentage health damage would actually be reduced, but they're being conservative to start off to kind of see. So I really like this new Blizzard balance philosophy of let's be a little more conservative and not just completely wreck a character or buff a character into ridiculousness.
Yeah.
Well, this was also a hotfix too. I mean, this wasn't like a
Yeah, but I mean,
major
even some of
overhaul.
their hot fixes have been pretty brutal in the past. But that
Yeah, that's
brings
true.
me to a
That's true.
point I want to get back to in just a second here. But real quick, Dahaka would happen to Dahaka the week after I start playing him. But basic attack damage reduced from 110 to 105. Brush Stalker cooldown increased from 50 to 60, and level 13 Ferocious Stalker has new functionality. Increase the damage of Dark Swarm by 40%, while the Brush Stalker buff is active. So really not too bad. It's
That's fine.
controlling is global.
Yeah.
But yeah, so back to this point here. So this has been, like we said earlier, a little bit longer time between balance updates than we've seen before, and they are more conservative. So this is either because they had more time in between to do more testing to figure out what they were wanting to do, or maybe it was just a one-off thing. Maybe they were just so busy with HGC and stuff that they didn't have that other week to work on it. But if it's the, first case scenario, would you rather see them kind of move more towards this like 2 to 3 weeks smaller changes after they've had more time to test and tweak internally, or going back to like the one every week that we've had and just getting sometimes some crazy nerfs that just wreck a character or buffs that boost them up so much? And I think mostly it's going to be on a case-by-case scenario. Sometimes those big things need to happen fast, but I don't know what your guys' opinions are on that, because I enjoy this balance patch, I think.
Me too. And I was going to say the same thing. It's on a case-by-case basis for sure. It is interesting to see nerfs to Malthael specifically that are so conservative. I mean, it's big-time stuff for sure. But it's like you said. I mean, I still think that build, the Memento Mori one we went over, should still work. It's just a little bit lower. So
yeah.
I think, and again, I mean, some of these were genuinely well thought out. I mean, a lot of this is numbers stuff. But again, it's conservative and nice, but I'm with you. I mean, if there's something that really needs like a big overhaul, naturally they don't typically do a lot of the big overhauls in these hot fixes. But again, it's clear that their measured approach with these sort of things is helping out quite a bit. I'm thinking back to the Zarya hot fix, like on day 2,
gosh.
and all the problems that we had there.
Ooh,
So
yeah.
So clearly they've learned from that and are improving. So it's good to see.
Yeah.
I think my optimal balance would probably be small tweaks like this between every 2 and 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
The way they've got it right now, and I still feel like the game is in probably one of the most balanced spots it's ever been. Like And I kind of thought about this when, and I'll talk about this in the community content shout out, when we were playing the tournament this last weekend and we hit reverse draft, and we had the hardest time trying to figure out who to give them, because there's really no one that's just super like, you suck. And, here you go. Here's super sucky hero. And so I think I love this. I love this approach. I like the let's be conservative balance changes every 2 to 3 weeks. And because they are where they are right now, they really should never need to make gigantic, big, sweeping balance changes anymore, with the exception being for newly released heroes.
Yeah.
If for some reason they come out super underpowered or super overpowered.
Mm-hmm.
But otherwise, everyone else is in a decent enough state that they can make these tiny tweaks. And maybe you have to make the tiny tweaks twice. Maybe you need to do it one balance patch and then move it up again a little bit the next one. But that keeps you from going super crazy and like buffing them, into the first pick, first ban, or nerfing them completely out of the meta. And so I feel like, it's from a balance perspective, the balance guys probably have their job about as easy as they've ever had it right now, just because of where the state of the game and where things are at. And now they can afford to do these tiny tweaks every 2 or 3 weeks. And I think we'll be fine. Like I said, new heroes withstanding, depending on how that goes, because those can kind of throw a wrench in things sometimes. But it should only be those specifically. We shouldn't really have that problem for the most part with any of the currently released stuff.
Yeah. That's a good point there. That's a good point.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. Next up, we have HGC. We're back into week 2 here. But before we get to that real quick, I want to give a special shout out to a new patron that we have, Nick B. So thank you, sir, for the support on that. We really do appreciate it, as we appreciate all of our patrons. I want to call them Patreons because it's Patreon. I don't know.
Oh, that happens on other shows all the time.
Gosh.
Like, thanks to our Patreons. I mean, patrons. I don't know what to call you. Patreons. I don't know.
All right, let's get into the HGC. TBK.
So to everyone's surprise, HGC was on this last weekend.
Yes.
Like, everybody thought this was going to be a bye weekend, but those tireless people just said, no, we must create more Heroes content for the community at the swiftest pace possible. So there was HGC, and we had some of the new teams show up. Honestly, a lot of these results were kind of expected in a lot of ways. Even in Death, the brand new North American team that replaced B-Step did not have the best of weekends, going 0-3 in both of their matchups. It's still early, though. It's still early. They're brand new, so you got to give them the benefit of the doubt for a little bit, right? No Tomorrow did very well, actually winning both of their matches against Superstars 3-1 and Team Freedom 3-2. So that was good. Gale Force, with their new roster, came out with a vengeance this weekend, beating Naventic 3-1 and Roll20 3-1. Remember, Roll20 does have one new member.
Mm-hmm.
Because Yoda was dropped, and in for Goku, I believe. So, but Gale Force had more new members than them.
And they seemed to gel pretty well. So it was good to see, for sure.
Naventic showed some signs of life, which is good. They've had a lot of mixing and matching and retooling of their team structure, especially now with Kenma moving over to the coach role. They looked pretty good, even though they ended up going 3-1. I'm definitely going to be keeping my eye on them going forward. What'll be really interesting, I think, is going to be the top 3 this time around, especially with Tempo Storm coming out really strong in the North American scene, but then kind of faltering and actually falling to Roll20 in the midseason brawl.
Right.
And now Roll20, they have a new member, and it's kind of interesting they made the switch because Yoda actually looked really good in the midseason brawl.
Yeah.
To the point of, why would you want to get rid of him type thing? And they could have been for personal reason. Who knows what the story behind that was. But regardless, it seemed odd that they would be dropping him for somebody else. So it'll be interesting to see how that new team gels with the 4-1 that we were before, and it was a rough start versus Gale Force.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I think early on predictions here for top 3 are still going to be Gale Force, Tempo, and Roll20.
But as to which order,
who
knows?
Who knows? But other than that, I'm not expecting a ton from Even in Death, but I am interested to see where No Tomorrow and Navintic end up with their changes.
Yes.
Yeah, well, here's the thing about Even in Death. Like, when we first heard about how they were being brought into the HGC scene in the way that they did, I was a little bit hesitant. But, I mean, like, watching them play, yes, they may not have had the greatest showing, but they are able to at least hold up some against some of the teams in these games. So, I mean, these players are already astronomically better at this game than I ever will be, frankly. So I have to acknowledge that. So I do kind of apologize if anyone felt like I had thrown any shade initially on this. But it is true. I mean, to see them be the brunt of 2 0-3s this week was a little on the rough side. But I still want to keep my eye on them, too, just to see, like, how they're able to improve. And when we first see them take a big game off of someone, if they do, by all means, that'll be awesome. Yeah, fun to watch.
Yeah,
so.
I hope they win some sets.
Me too.
I think it would really be kind of disappointing to see them go 0 and whatever at the end of the phase, because that'll, in a lot of ways, that'll just kind of feel bad, like they weren't really up to the HGC caliber, and just kind of ended up sliding in because of a technicality.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I'm rooting for them. I hope now that they're scrimming probably more against these bigger teams, I'm really hoping that they are able to get some synergy going, get some practice down, and take a few games off of some of the other teams.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Next week, this weekend starts up again. So
right.
Be sure to check out all the esports, EU and NA, of course, going on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Oh, and I love it when you see a game like right out the gate that hypes you up. Tempo Storm versus GFE right out the gate Friday.
Yep.
Gonna be fun.
That's gonna be a big one.
Gonna be fun. That's all I'm saying.
It's gonna be a really good one.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that'll really show us a lot where GFE is at.
Yeah.
And how their new members are gelling with the rest of the team as well, because they just missed it. They just missed the midseason brawl.
Right.
And so it's got to be a comfort for all these teams. It's got to be a comfort for all these teams, seeing that there's 3 major region spots for BlizzCon now.
Yeah.
Like that definitely
nice.
takes a little bit of the pressure off, but that is going to make that 3rd spot that much more contested.
Yeah, for sure, because with 2 spots, you have a 25% chance of making it, and you can kind of tell midway through the season if you have a chance of getting there. But with 3, that's a little bit more fight from your 4, 5, 6, and even 7. Well, 8th place team too, depending on how they do the first few weeks. So should see a lot of good stuff there, and hopefully that test will raise the overall skill in NA.
Yeah.
And we'll see some good play at BlizzCon, which is holy cow. BlizzCon's going to be here before we know it.
It really is.
It's
not that far away, and we have we're going into a very interesting scenario because it's EU overlords.
Yeah.
This time for BlizzCon. It's the EU that is on top. Both the big EU teams that are on top going into this BlizzCon, not a Korean team, not a Chinese team. So that's going to be really interesting to see how that goes. And we are going to get, I believe, one more Western Clash style event before BlizzCon.
Cool. Yeah, it's especially cool. I'm pretty hopeful that EU is going to hang on to this at BlizzCon with the changes we've seen to L5 and some mix-ups in Korea. So who knows? Maybe they won't get their team synergy down by then, and by we, I'm saying we now because I have taken in the EU and dubbed them as my own.
You've taken
so
them.
NA, I didn't forget you too.
Them.
We're just
that's not appropriation at all.
We're one big family now. We're one big family.
Yes,
we're the Western family.
It's not the Western versus the Eastern. It's the Western versus Korea and China. They're their own separate thing still, just because they're that good. All right.
It's I don't know. I just want to see NA improvement in the Western Clash coming up here in a month or month and a half or whatever it is. I want to see NA take a lot more games off EU than we saw before, even if they don't end up winning the Western Clash. I think that's what we really need to see from the teams that go to this Western Clash is we need to see them taking games off. We need to see I want to see, even if EU wins, I want to see an NA versus EU finals in this.
Fun.
Yeah.
That would be fun. Absolutely.
We'll see.
We were talking about BlizzCon, so random aside, but I got to throw this back in. Just a reminder that the tickets are going back on sale because of the new extended hall, July 5th. So a week from today, if you're listening, and it is 9 p.m. Central. So you can tune in to Lords of the Storm live Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Central that week. But if you're looking to buy the tickets, just go ahead and do that first. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah,
that's all I'm saying.
For sure. All right, TBK, what do you have for community content this week?
Well, I've actually got some really cool stuff. First, I have to shout out Noah Warner for this absolutely incredible Iron Horde Zarya skin.
Yeah.
Like, this thing is amazing, and it will be in the show notes so you can go see it. It's like in-game stuff, tons of awesome art for it. It looks so good. Like, wouldn't you guys like buy that instantly?
Oh yeah. Well, and the
totally
crossover is sweet. Like, I mean, she looks like a female orc, which is awesome. And I mean, the art behind it, the gun is certainly really cool and everything. But I mean,
it's like a flamethrower.
Yeah, it's like a flamethrower, but the crossover with specifically Warlords of Draenor and the Iron Horde coming over, it's just cool.
Yeah,
like to bring in like a little bit of lore almost to a character that really otherwise shouldn't look like a, Warcraft character.
And
but they've done that with Sergeant Hammer, right? So.
Yeah.
This brings up an interesting point I've thought for a while, kind of since 2.0 came out, but I'm not sure I've ever talked about. So, like you said, they showed a lot of different things, like all different face paints, hairstyles that you could have for the different skins, as well as different weapons. And what game was it I was playing? Battlerite has skins and weapons. What would you guys feel about potentially seeing weapons being a customizable thing at some point in Heroes, as far as loot? You think that's too much? I would love to mash up like Psycho Stitches with my water bucket from Bikini Stitches.
Okay, you got me sold.
Or Bikini Stitches with a chainsaw.
Needed. That's all you needed.
That's absolutely right. Oh, yeah. Okay, no, I'm on board. 100%.
So I think that would be
I'm conflicted.
Awesome.
I'm conflicted.
Why are you conflicted?
Because the weapons are kind of iconic, and it just depends. Do we want like a Burning Crusade scenario where you just start getting clown outfits?
Yes.
Like for regular Tychus with a Super Soaker.
Absolutely.
Like, I don't know if I like that.
There's no conflict here for me. Give it to me.
Yeah.
100%.
I don't know.
Or you know what?
I'm not sold. I'm not sold on it.
You know how we can test this out, Blizzard? April Fool's Day next year. give us Tychus using his, in his regular armor. Just mix everything up. Be like, oh, we picked this skin. Oh, we're gonna give you this other skin and this other weapon instead. And people will be like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. I wish I could totally do this all the time.
And I'm just guessing, but from a tech perspective, that might be super hard.
To like redo the art and that
Well,
sort of thing.
It's more like
not
an
necessarily.
animation, and
But
it'd
most
probably
of
be more on
them,
the animation side, I would think.
I wouldn't think
and a
most of them
rigging
would
side.
would change
Because
that
they weren't
much.
set
though.
up like that.
Yeah.
I don't know how their models are set up. 'Cause
Yeah.
It all really depends on how are the models set up, and if they were set up in a way that can cleanly swap out things like that. Because if they're not, then that would be a whole heck of a lot of work and dev time.
The only reason
Make it work.
I think that it might be set up that way, and I might be wrong here, but I believe with the ragdoll physics and stuff, weapons can fly out of hands when you die. They're not, so you don't carry
true.
them with you. So it's
I
not
don't
like
know.
connected to the skin. But I don't know. I'm not a developer or anything. I thought it was it's an interesting idea. But the
Yeah.
skin is awesome regardless.
Let's see if I can find out about that just for funsies. Okay, so next, Chair League. Chair League is back for season 4. And it's turning into a much more recreational type thing. There's going to be a Tuesday Night Heroes and a Thursday Night Heroes. And you sign up for those specific nights, and then the games can happen anytime between 5 to 10 p.m. Pacific time. And of course, you'll still have your Division 3, 2, 1, and Pro Division within each of those 2 nights. They'll still be cast. There's actually a small league fee this time. It's like $24 a team or something, so less than $5 a person for 8 weeks or whatever. It's minuscule. It's nothing, and Chair League's been free up to this point, so I can completely understand them implementing something like this because it will make sure teams are a little more serious, which is
Right.
good. So you don't have teams randomly not showing up. Because if you're going to put a little bit of money down, you're probably going to be a little more serious about it. So I like that. It probably helps their cost for website and dev time and all the stuff like that, because they've been doing it for free up until now. Also, maybe it'll fund prizes or whatever at the end of the season. So, not a huge deal. And it looks like it's going to be a ton of fun. I will most likely be jumping back in and casting some Tuesday or Thursday night Chair League games. So chairleague.com/leagues. Go check it out. Grab your team. Get signed up for recreational Heroes of the Storm.
There you
And
go.
then finally, a little bit of a discussion topic. This kind of blew up a little bit on the Heroes subreddit, and it's always something I like talking about. Power creep in Heroes of the Storm. Can we have an actual discussion on power creep in HOTS? Says Xanax Bars. Yes, we can. A big thing that a lot of people have been coming out with lately is that a lot of the newer heroes have had very strong base kits, very high mobility, with mobility being one of the big ones, and then the other big one being mana, as in I don't need to worry about mana at all. And so this is kind of interesting. I don't know. It's definitely a concern. It should be a concern for all games, because power creep can be a thing. Is Heroes have power creep? It's tough to say. I would honestly more say that Heroes has power creep in relation to some of the older kits that have not gotten any love yet.
Right.
I think that's more it than anything. Is you're comparing some of these brand new shiny heroes that were made with this new philosophy, because they've said, and this was a year ago maybe, they've changed philosophies on how they're developing heroes, how they're developing new talent trees. We have questing talents that were introduced, and so they've learned a lot. and we still have a chunk of heroes in the game that are still very much old school of thought as far as how the kit or mobility or mana usage goes. Like some of the big offenders off the top of my head, Jaina and Tyrael. Terrible mana issues.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely horrible. Nova, terrible mana issues. And so it's just, and some of those things, and then some of these guys just have really old kits
Raynor.
still. Yeah, Raynor. Oh, Raynor's a huge one. He's just like, talk about as old school as you can get, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like Raynor is just super old.
I mean, I think they want it.
Morales, like
Brightwing's had a few changes, but yeah, I think with Raynor, they just want to keep him as the tutorial guy. Just so simple that new players can get it.
But it's also, I mean, with the power creep and stuff, like Ryan said, it's the heroes with older kits just not feeling as powerful. And I get that, like, yeah, we want him to be easy still, but he still needs to be exciting to play. Because, now we have heroes.
Yeah.
When he was first out, everyone could mount up. Brightwing was the exception with the global, and I think was Falstad at launch or in alpha.
Yeah, Falstad.
Yeah, so Falstad as well.
Enough, yeah.
But now we have the heroes like Genji and
Overwatch being
Malthael.
big ones as far as mobility
Overwatch
goes.
Yeah, shooting while moving. So it's, and he's he has two abilities. So I think there can definitely be some changes made to him to make him kind of feel more up to date. I think that's the best way for me to put it. They don't feel up to date.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're completely right. It's just they're old school. They're on the old school of thought. They're on. They're more generic-y.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they've got more generic talents, even like some of them still. So yeah, no, I'm 100% with you. And this kind of ties into our discussion before about just the cycle of going back and revisiting characters versus actually like just rebalancing the numbers. And so yeah, I think that's, and we've seen some of it, right? We've seen some come back from the grave essentially with big reworks that took away a lot of their generic talents and that sort of thing. So I think we'll continue to see that cycle for sure. Now with the mobility, there's some weirdness, especially lately, and I definitely echo the concern where, like for instance, at the Media Summit, we had Kent-Eric Hagman saying that we're really watching mobility, but we had to do Genji because obviously that's part of his deal, dashing around, et cetera, et cetera. And then the next one was Diva, who dashes around, et cetera, et cetera. And then technically Malthael, like, okay, yes, he lacks in mobility some, but the ability to just jump the back line when you want is actually pretty good. So I don't know. I think that's one they just need to continue to watch.
I think that's the one I'm most worried about.
Yeah. Now I'm worried that they're going to try to overbalance it, and Stukov or whoever is going to come out with none, like literally no mobility, and that could be harmful too. So I don't know. Yeah. It's definitely a touchy subject.
It's interesting. So I would actually, now that I'm thinking about it, not really necessarily refer to what happens in Heroes as power creep, because the power is taken care of in these balance changes. The mobility, like we've been talking about, is definitely a concern, but it's more of like, not like Hearthstone, because power creep's a big thing in Hearthstone. When they come out with new cards, they have to think of new and interesting ways, which they do in Heroes. But when they put out those cards, those are legit more powerful and make old cards and stuff.
A comparison. Like this 5 mana is a 1/5. This 5 mana is a 2/5.
So that card's
Booty
useless.
Bay Bruiser. That's all I'm saying.
Or Buffett. So these heroes
there's
aren't.
Evil Heckler. That's a mana less. That's all I'm saying.
These heroes aren't becoming useless, and if they are, that can be fixed with buffs. So not so much power creep, but keeping everything.
It's more situational usage creep, I guess, because it's like this hero. Is there ever a situation where I would not take a Genji? as he is right now. Is there ever a situation I would not take a Malthael, whether he is, you know, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the big thing, and that's why I think the mobility aspect of it is my biggest fear, because placement and positioning is so important in MOBAs, and mobility just allows you to dodge stuff faster. It allows you to get in place faster. It allows you to get to objectives faster. Just kind of like mobility is just a plus in every stat.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways. Chase people down, get away. And so, yeah, that's I can completely understand the concern on the mobility creep, just because we've had so many highly mobile heroes or healers with some kind of a movement increase of some sort come out in the last, 6 months to a year. And that in a lot of ways that can just because of that can potentially cause them to outshine heroes with these older kits. Not to say that, yes, that I think there's several heroes that probably need to have mana looked at, because they need to decide, okay, how big of a deal is mana? Because mana should be a big deal for heroes with super low cooldown that are spammable stuff
to prevent you from spamming.
Yes,
yeah,
you should. That's when mana should be an issue, and we kind of haven't seen that, because like Malthael's got those spammy type things in some ways, but he really doesn't have mana issues. Jaina does not really have a spammy type thing, and she has horrible mana issues. Tyrael does not have a super spammy kit, and he has really bad mana issues.
And she's somewhere in between, but you can talent it to where you're on the good end of that. Like, you can keep spamming. So.
In a way, that got nerfed.
Yeah,
quite a bit.
But it's still kind of like when you're feeling her out, it's still kind of true. For the most part.
Yeah. Once you get into it a little bit more, and then like I said, Nova's not super spammy either. Both of hers have decent cooldowns, but you go through like 3 snipes and it's like, oh crap, I'm getting thirsty.
Yeah.
It's just like, why? What is the deal? And so, yeah, I completely agree, but those are numbers things, right?
Yep.
Those are numbers things you can do. A lot of this mobility now is being built into kits or built into abilities. And so that's where I think people are worried. And I do think that's where Blizzard should, they need to really keep an eye on this. And I mean, if mobility is in the hero's core, fantasy, sure, you've got to figure out some way to do that. Like, I can't think of a non-mobile Genji just wouldn't make a whole lot of sense. But at the same time, you have to be really careful about the amount of characters and the ability of those highly mobile characters to do a lot of things. Because if you're going to be highly mobile, you need to have some significant drawbacks in other areas.
Yeah. Well,
Exactly.
and of course comes to mind Genji. It's funny, you would think like one way to counter that would be, after his dash, he has slow movement speed. But instead, he has a talent at level 1 where he has increased movement speed after his dash.
Yep.
So it's like,
And then you still have his just regular trait, the one where he just jumps over terrain and such.
Yep.
So, you know.
But yeah, it's an interesting article. It's on Reddit and definitely worth the read, I would say. Before we move on to emails here real quick, I also want to shout out something Space Pope asked us to. So there is the community Gamers of the Storm are putting on their first invitational tournament this Saturday. So if you listen to this tomorrow or Friday, you can get in on this at 6:30 p.m. He didn't give me a time. I haven't looked at the link, but it is on Battlefy, and we can put that in the show notes as well if you want to play a nice little tournament. They're fun. If you haven't done one before, I would definitely suggest doing so if you got a team.
And speaking of tournaments, the Creators of the Storm tournament I talked about was last weekend, and you'll be happy to know that I represented the show very well, and we got first place.
Nice.
There you go. Congrats.
Nice.
So it was me and Lords of the Exodar, which is YouTube content channel, and Ro,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah.
And Ro definitely showcased his Diablo and his one-trick Lily throughout the game. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. There was some interesting modes. We did a 5 support versus 5 support, which there's only 11 supports in the game, so there were no bans, and there was only one support that got left out. So
Who was it?
oh gosh, now you're gonna make me
Medic?
try. No, Medic actually got picked.
I would love Medic in.
If it's not Medic, I would have to say.
Oh, I can't think of it.
Wow.
It's not coming to me
Huh.
off the top of my head. Which there's only one though. Our team actually consisted of Tastar, Rhaegar, Medic, and then, gosh, see,
Lily?
I'm just,
Is
and
Ro?
Lily, yes, Lily
Yeah.
was in there,
We can go damage.
and
Lily, so
like,
that makes sense.
and Brightwing maybe.
Okay.
Regardless, it was hilarious because you have not seen power creep until you have seen a bloodlusted stemmed Archon. Let's just put it at that. That was rather ridiculous and really awesome. So that was a lot of fun.
All right.
And brought home the W. So good
Congrats.
stuff.
Very neat. All right. Well, let's go on, and we have a couple questions to get to here that we'll go ahead and knock out. All right, Multi. So first up, Draven Dresden in chat here had a question for us.
Yeah, so this is actually just in our chat from tonight, but I thought it was pertinent enough to bring up at this point, and
Yeah.
it's a good question. So Draven Dresden, also co-host of the Heroes Never Die podcast, so he's familiar with how these things work in Overwatch. And the question is, okay, so random question, do you think summer loot boxes should actually have summer stuff in them? So far, I've done 5 boxes. I've gotten 1 summer item total, even after 2 to 3 rerolls on each. So it's an interesting question. He's definitely reacting to how Overwatch handles this, in that when you open up one of their event crates over there, there's just guaranteed 1 item from that event.
Yeah.
And so I'm not sure if they like, because there aren't a ton of summer items here necessarily. There's some good stuff in there for sure, and you've got all the different tints and everything like that. So I just don't know if it's because they didn't have enough content to weigh it in that same way or what, but I don't know. I do feel like the odds should maybe be a little bit better if those are the numbers you're coming out with. I mean, 5 boxes, even with the rerolls, is a somewhat small sample size so far, but it's slightly concerning. It was a little weird because we postulated about how this would work, right?
Uh-huh.
And we kind of thought it might be along those lines, and it is slightly strange to get like a themed box that doesn't actually have the theme item
The
in it.
theme
So,
item.
you know, like I will give you that, Draven.
That's a
Dresden,
cool looking
any day.
box. That's
It sure is.
can I keep the
It
box?
sure
Got a
is.
cool
Elise?
animation and a cool little sound as you open it.
Exactly. So I don't know. What do you guys think about all this?
So it kind of goes back to you paid for Overwatch, so you definitely want to make sure you're getting. There's got to be something there to kind of give you an advantage. And in Heroes, when it's the free-to-play game, they want you to buy crates or something. But I do agree. I don't think the ratio is quite there. I think I've opened 4 or 5, and I got 1. I think I got 1 spray, and I went ahead and rolled. No, to get that spray, I actually re-rolled on a legendary.
Oh wow.
dupe.
Dump to legendary.
I re-rolled on a legendary dupe because I wasn't getting anything, and I want to make sure to get as much summer stuff as I can. Still haven't decided if that was a poor decision. Probably.
It was a poor
Probably.
decision.
Because I
Probably,
didn't
yeah.
realize
That was a
at the
poor
time
decision.
that I could go and buy the summer stuff. So yeah, it's interesting. I don't know if maybe they could build in a way to, hey, if you re-roll on a crate, then you're guaranteed something. That way you're
Oh,
still
maybe.
losing some form of currency. Or if that's not enough, if you reroll twice, then you're guaranteed something. Or if you
Yeah, I
reroll
kinda
3
like that.
times, you're guaranteed something.
The final reroll guarantees like the themed
Yeah.
item. That's kind of cool.
Something like that. So just to,
Yeah,
to
that's-
balance it out.
Yeah, that's definitely would be an interesting way of doing it.
Mhm.
So you'd still lose currency. I'm with Multi though. I think part of the reason they didn't guarantee it was because, I mean, if you really look at it, there's not that many new items.
Mhm.
This is a fairly small content drop as far as events go. If they had a bunch of voice lines, more than 5 portraits, maybe a handful more sprays, that type of thing, I could maybe see it. But
Right.
yeah, I don't know. The lowest rarity was rare, so they didn't have any common
Yeah.
stuff from the event thing either. Yeah, no, I wouldn't mind seeing it if the content drop was bigger, but that does sound like a little bit, you either got unlucky or maybe the drop rate's a little too low.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. All right. And this one that came to us last week, I believe, from Kadzin.
I think it was maybe a couple weeks ago. We
was
weren't
one or
able to
two.
get to it. One or two. It's reacting to an episode from a couple weeks ago now. I know that for sure. But good question. So it is from Kadzin, and he writes, "Hi guys, long-time listener, first-time poster. Big fan of the show. Keep up the good work. Just wanted to send feedback on the latest episode. Again, couple back there, where we were talking about supports and their place in Heroes of the Storm. So first, I wanted to start with a bit of a rant that was a long time coming. Why do the HOTS community have the need to harp on League of Legends? HOTS wouldn't exist without the League's success. Also, Multizord mentioned having no impact when playing supports in the League. Were we playing the same game? Because I used to main support, and I felt like the biggest impact on the team, second only to the ADC. Supports in League bring a ton of different tools to their job, often without any healing. Two of my favorite ones are Thresh and Blitzcrank. Both are CC beasts with no healing and only a bit of shielding. Vision is one of the biggest tools supports provide. There's a reason why Medivh is such a popular hero in HOTS esports. Vision is knowledge, and knowing where the enemy team is brings a huge advantage. Good point, for sure. This brings me to the second point. The problem with HOTS supports is healing. It's too high, and it needs to go away. There's a reason why so many popular supports and characters are often drafted in esports, and they are so popular because of that amount of utility that they provide. And he's not even necessarily talking about supports here. Also, like Zeratul Void Prison, Tyrael with Sanctification, Zarya and Tassadar with the allied shielding, Medivh with his protection status, Vision and Stasis. All of these are qualities of a support in League of Legends' eyes, but in the world of HOTS, all the players see is healing numbers. That fundamental flaw in design needs to change in order for supports to be viable. Some of those changes look like a step in the right direction, like Malf, but some don't, like Lili. Anyway, sorry about the wall of text. Love the show. Keep it up. So, no, thanks for the writing in about all that for sure. And so, okay, first of all, to address your first question, why does the HOTS community have to harp on League of Legends? I think it's just because it's the other thing, frankly. And for us on the show, like, we don't have a lot of Dota experience per se, but we all came from League at some point, so it's a little easier to relate to. And then also, so you mentioned the supports, and were we playing the same game? Frankly, we might not have, because I haven't played that game since I got into the Heroes Tech Alpha.
It's been
twice.
many years.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think since we played League.
Exactly. So what I was referring to was a day that I recall a few years back now, where you would get like your gold per 5 items, and you just kind of hang out, and yeah, you drop wards, which I agree, totally important. But you'd otherwise just be like either fending off ganks or doing like minor things to help out in the lane. And yeah, you could do like Blitzcrank, but you'd get your pull off, and then you'd be so squishy you'd just die and stuff. So I don't know, maybe a ton of that's changed since then. But that's kind of what I was referring to at that point. So as with regard to the healing in this game, I'm definitely with you on the utility aspects of those heroes that you brought up: Void Prison, Sanctification, that sort of thing. And honestly, it kind of ties into our discussion earlier as well about, in a way, not necessarily power creep, but when you do see the pro matches, you see these characters a lot because of those features. And without like hardcore kit changes, I don't see that changing necessarily. Like Void Prison can be a game changer. like the ultimate shift in a group fight, you know? So like I'm with you in that those are certainly strong things and we see them. I don't think that we have to have those or how do I put this? I don't think that those have to be exclusive from healing. Like I think it's currently working with those and healing because like I don't ever really get the sense that it takes too long for people to die, even in the pro scene and even at my level. Actually, they die a lot faster in the pro scene because those guys really know how to focus targets down. But you know what I mean? Like, but if it became an issue, it would be more like World of Warcraft, frankly, where it takes anyone forever to die in PvP. So I feel like it's okay, but I get your point for sure. What did you guys think about all this?
So first off, I don't know if you've played League lately, Kadzin.
Sure have.
But
Kadzin.
Yeah, Kadzin.
I thought you said Kevin. I was
no,
like,
Kadzin.
okay,
But
yeah.
you probably will no longer ever play Blitzcrank after they've added in their 10 bans now. He is almost always certainly banned, at least in the games I played.
They have 10 bans now?
Yep, 10 bans. Everyone gets a
How long
ban.
does that take? Like a half hour game?
No,
Or do they
so
all
they-
just
okay.
know the ones to ban?
I don't want to spend a lot of time on this. They did it really
Yeah.
cleverly. So in competitive, they still go through the snake ban, but in actual game, it's just everyone makes their bans at once.
Ew.
You have a
So
certain
you
amount of
each
time
pick
to pick
one?
your ban. Yep, and then lock it in, and then bam, they're all banned, and then you go through your draft.
I like it.
Obviously, it works better in a game that has a ton of heroes like
Yes,
that. But yeah,
correct.
Yeah, okay.
But my thing with the healing, I do think it might be a little much in heroes right now, but I don't want them to take it away too much. I don't want them to make support just utility because that, again, I think I talked about this when we were discussing this. That's what makes heroes, is those super intense, drawn out fights, to where there's the rotations, those insane rotations where we see where the front line gets down, they come back, get healed up, and then they rotate back in. But we've kind of gotten to a point now where I do feel like there's too many fights to where it's a long fight, and a lot of times no one dies, and people go their own ways. So that is a little bit of an issue there. But, and again, it kind of feels like Blizzard might be in a weird spot deciding exactly how strong they want their sports to be and things like that. But they're two just very, very different same games. So I don't know. That's all I had to add.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with that. The base foundation of Heroes, or what Heroes is built upon healers being able to heal a decent amount. I know League made the conscious decision that supports don't have much healing. There's not a lot of supportish type healing. There's like lifesteal and stuff, but there's not a lot of supportish type healing in that game. That was a conscious decision. Heroes made the conscious decision to make healing a big part of their game. Is it overdone sometimes? Yes, it can be. And we've seen healing numbers get tuned back on several characters, Malfurion being the most recent. But at the same time, I think they're trying to balance that between healing and mitigation now, because we've seen armor become such a prominent thing now, and again, because it's so prominent, I'm still waiting for them to come up with a good way to show me how much armor anybody has at a specific time, rather than just a shield or a broken shield,
Right.
because it needs to happen. It's a very important part of the game now. But I digress. That's been needing to happen for a while, and I really hope that is a change that comes in soon. But yeah, they're really trying to make, I think, that balance between offering armor and offering healing, and I think over time that will reduce the healing number some, because it is going to go to a little more of a damage mitigation. But I don't know. I've never had a huge problem with the healing. The healing for me makes me like, I don't want to be a heal bot.
Yeah.
But at the same time, healing, being able to land those heals, being able to specifically target people to try and save is really it's a really fun thing. It is a bit WoW like in some ways, but I mean the whole Heroes game is somewhat WoW like. I mean you have a tank, you have your damage, and you have your healer. So if you've played WoW, it's a very similar type feel. Like you're just going into a 5v5 dungeon setting, and the other 5 people are the dungeon bosses or mini bosses or whatever, as you kind of go through. So it's a very relatable thing, especially from a Blizzard standpoint, because a lot of people have played WoW. Tons and tons and tons of people have played WoW.
Right.
And so it's a very easy to slip into model when you jump into Heroes is, okay, tank roll, healer roll, damage roll. And it just works well for this game. And I don't know. Like I've been pretty happy with the point we've gotten to. I have lots of issues with supports in general.
Yeah.
But from a strategic and like game concept standpoint, I kind of like it. I'm okay with it because I like the longer drawn out fights. You don't feel like, for the most part anymore, boom, you can be instantly deleted and nothing could be done about it. You actually can, the longer a fight is, the more strategic choices you have to make. You could throw in the whole power creep, mobility creep type thing as a counter, as mobility creep is making team fights easier to get out of or easier to disengage, so less people die. I think that could be a very valid concern, but I don't think it's necessarily the healing specifically that's doing that.
Yeah. And just
I agree with that point.
On one point you made, TBK, about like heal bots and stuff. From a design perspective, off like just the top of my head here, the two supports they have in Heroes that I think they nailed gameplay wise, as far as what I want from a support, not necessarily balancing wise, is Rhaegar and Kharazim.
Oh, very interesting.
They're a nice balance of action and healing, but not overhealing necessarily. Like fairly, decent cooldowns and stuff. Not going to extend team fights too much, but I don't know.
Yeah, and on the flip side of that too, the ones who do feel the most heal body, in my mind, Lili and Medic for sure, still aren't really heal bots. Like, I'm with you, TBK, in that like you can do more with them than just stand there and channel. I think of specifically the change to Lieutenant Morales's grenade and how it works, detonating it, choosing to either push back or set up kills. Like that actually became a super interesting and deep ability that can totally change fights. So
she's still probably the most heal body
for sure
that we have. and
for sure.
And we do have some sort of a rework coming that has been mentioned.
That's true.
Which does make me excited. But I completely agree with you. Like, each support can do something besides just heal, which is nice.
Yeah.
All right. We also had another kind of feedback thing from a topic from Ouroboros Sword that he sent in that I definitely want to talk about probably next week here. I wanted to make sure we got to CAD's ins since we put it off a few weeks.
Sure.
But had some interesting thoughts on as far as MMR hell on the discussions that we had for Hero League and things like that. So hopefully we'll get to that next week. But we're going to go ahead and wrap this week up. So Multi, why don't you tell everyone where we could be reached?
Oh, you can find us in-game by typing /join space LOTS, or you can join our Discord, which is sticky at the top of our Twitter, @Lords of the Storm. Also, we're on twitch.tv live Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. Central. That's twitch.tv/Lords of the Storm for the record there. We're also on Facebook at facebook.com/Lords of the Storm podcast. You can email us with any feedback or questions, lordsofthestorm@outlook.com. And if you want to help out the show, a couple different ways to do it. You could leave a review, preferably a positive one. iTunes, Stitcher, anywhere else out there, of course. And if you really want to help out the show, we also have our Patreon at patreon.com/Lords of the Storm, where you can give any amount that you deem appropriate for the services we provide. And we appreciate everyone who's given truly any amount so far and in the future. Now, we did actually get another review. Kind of want to shout this out real quick. It's by Blitz56. Hey, maybe that was Blitzcrank. Maybe. So it says, Blitz writes, their podcast has lots of info
Ha.
and the latest news about Blizzard's MOBA Heroes of the Storm. If you want to improve your HOTS gameplay, subscribe and download now. And yes, he did capitalize lots in such a way that I believe it was a pun. And I salute you. Hats off to you. Very good. Very good.
All
Sir
right.
or madam. It could be a madam.
Fair enough. All right. You can also find us individually.
Yeah.
You can find me on Twitter and Twitch, and Facebook, I guess. all those places. Gizmo Zord. I have been streaming a lot more. I know I said that in the past, and it never happened because I ran into issues. I actually mean it this time. I have legit been streaming a lot. I don't have a set schedule right now. I'm hoping to get one kind of a regular schedule out soon, but I need to figure some stuff out when I can have a regular schedule. This Friday, most of you probably are going to miss this, but I'm actually going to be having my button celebration. I got the sub button from the affiliate, or being a Twitch affiliate this week. So we're going to have a good time with that. So you want to come by, hang out? We'll have a good time. I know it's when HGC is going on. I'm gonna wait till after the Tempo Gale Force game. And you can also...
Oh, good man. I'll come visit you then.
Yes.
You can also check out Convert to Raid Presents, the other podcast I'm on. That's World of Warcraft and all things Blizzard. That's Tuesday nights at 10 p.m. Central Standard. Multi, where can you be reached?
I'm on Twitter at Multizord, and I also want to point you at another show called The Cavalry, which is at The Cavalry Show on Twitter. It's about Overwatch, and speaking of Zords who, won tournaments over the weekend, TBK, my buddy Tank Zord, co-host on that show, actually won this week's Cow League, which is a kind of amateur scene over there in Overwatch where they actually, based on skill level, slightly randomize the teams. And you just get matched up with other people and go into it. So, but they're casted matches and everything, and they were apparently raving about him. So,
Nice.
congrats to Tank Zord on the big win there.
Good for
sure.
him.
Yeah.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
And TBK.
You can find me on Twitter at TBKZord and twitch.tv/TBKZord. Well, I've also been streaming a little bit more lately. So I'm going to shoot to try and get at least one hero stream in a week just for funsies. I opened some loot boxes the other night. It was good.
Yeah.
I got a surfboard. And then I got the
Bet you
same
did.
surfboard again.
But you got a duplicate. And
But
some
I
currency.
got that.
And that's a
those
legendary,
sweet
right?
shards.
The surfboard's
Yep.
legendary? Yeah.
That's worth it. That's cool.
All right. So we want to give a special thanks to our patron producer, Ouroboros Zord, for helping support the show. We appreciate it as always, sir. Well, get in there. Sun's out, guns out. Spread that lotion love on. Wear your Speedos with pride. We'll see you guys next week. Same time, same place. 9 p.m. Central Standard Wednesday. Have a good one.
Enough. I shall do no more.
It was a great event name.
Yes, it is.
I know. I meant to rant about it. But next time.